Okay, I have a truck update. So here's the project I've been putting off, but now's the time. Got a set of 2500 leaf springs going in the 1500 series truck. Okay, now you can get a good look. Put my hand in here for scale. The old leaf springs are puny. So these springs should hold a lot more weight. And like I said, this thing would be 6 inches higher if I just installed it the way it is. This already has drops shackles. And I couldn't just do the flip kit now because the axle would be sitting way up here. It would still be against the frame. So hopefully the combination of the flip kit and these much higher arched 2500 springs, she'll be sitting pretty much where she is now, but with the camper on the back. Okay, here's the C-notches. They came raw steel. I coated them with Rust-Oleum, red oxide, brown oxide, and then a coat of Rust-Oleum gloss black. And I left the outsides raw because once I cut this out and I drill all the holes, I'm going to clean up this frame, do the same thing, brown oxide, and then some of the Rust-Oleum gloss black, bolt everything together and coat it again, and then hopefully the paint will go in and seal all the cracks and keep moisture out of there for long term. Okay, I drilled a couple pilot holes, one there, then I'm going to step up to this step bit and try to get a nice radius on both of these corners before I connect it with the cutoff wheel. Alright, this is a Harbor, no, this is a, got this from Track. Alright, side done. Top. We got our cuts. It's a little ugly. I'm going to clean it all up with a flapper disc. Okay, now for the bottom. Alright, so just to confirm, this bottom, sorry about the terrible camera work, 7 3/4. So I just want to double check the notches in my frame to make sure. Oh boy. Alright, well that was pretty much one disc to cut one side, so you know you're going to need at least 2 of these cutoff wheels. Now we're going to put on a sanding disc and get to sanding. Get this all nice and smooth and ready for paint. Okay, got the C-notch, C-clamped, only appropriate. Got to use C-clamps for the C-notch. Alright, now I'm going to drill out all 8 of these holes and see if we can't rustle up some good hardware to bolt this thing together. Alright, I'm going to start with a nice small pilot hole. That was pretty easy. I'll do that the rest of the way around. Alright, we got all of our holes drilled. Just got back from the tractor supply. Got all our nuts, bolts, washers. We got galvanized washers. I'm hoping they'll work like little zinc anodes, hopefully to prevent rust. But now I'm going to take it back off, paint up the frame, make sure I paint all the drill holes, and I'll be back. Okay, a little rusty metal primer. Even though this isn't rusty metal. This paint definitely works. I've been using it for years. And the brush on kind that comes in a can, oil based, great stuff. Alright, it's a couple days later, and I started undoing the shackle bolts. This one here snapped clean off. I don't know if you could tell, but it's only a fraction of its original size. And the rear U-bolt, pretty badly pitted. And I got these things just in the nick of time. Look how rusty this bottom bracket is. Completely filled with dirt. Rusted clean through. Alright. So if you got an 88, you might want to look at all this stuff. Here's another situation you might need to be aware of. The 88, these U-bolts are held on with 7/8, and the donor truck they're held on with 21mm. So if you're like me, you keep both metric and standard. Alright, I got the shackle bolts out. I hold the leaf spring in. This is the front one, rear. It looked to be okay. The rear was in better shape than the front for sure. And they're 21mm. So, alright, leaf spring's ready to come out. So you can see I got the rear shackle bolt out. And I got this front bolt out. If you can see that. But this leaf spring is ready to go. Let's see what we can do. There we go. Just a little size comparison. Here's the old 1500 springs, and of course the new 2500 springs. So even all this looks much beefier. Bigger rubber pad. I'm gonna put bearing grease in here too. I don't know if it's necessary, but hopefully it'll make them slide better. You can see these are the lowering shackles that someone had put in. These are stock shackles. I'm going to try the stock shackles for now. If I think the truck's too high, I still have the option to put these on. So Alright, see if we can get this spring in. Alright, well, I got the truck up. Don't make fun of my jack stand. There's plywood in between each one of the bricks. And the plywood works like mortar. So, that's good. And I got the axle now on the jack. Take the jack stand out. And I have to get this new leaf spring under the axle. I don't know if you could tell, but it sits on top. There's a bucket here, so I can't just jack it straight up. It's actually got to sit in both ends, so I got to get this axle really high to get it out of the way. Then I can get that leaf spring in there. Wish me luck. Alright, that's all the jack I got. That'd be pretty hardcore if I can get the wheel sitting that high. I'd have to cut out the wheel well, or run some really tiny tires. Alright, watch me struggle. Jeez, these springs are heavy. They're much heavier than the springs that just came out of here. Alright, I got that end just precariously sitting up in there. Now I'm going to try to get this end up in there. Oh, these springs definitely got some weight to them. Alright, I can see one problem I didn't count on. That bolt is not going to let me sit this in there. And I'm thinking this leaf spring belongs on the driver's side. So, let me go double check, see if that's the case. But yeah, that's just sitting there. It's not quite in yet. But you can see this truck's definitely going to be a lot lower. Yeah, that's definitely the case. That one's got the bolt sticking the opposite way of this one. So, pull this spring out, put that spring in. These are some heavy suckers. Alright, got the spring sitting in here. I'm using the stock shackles. After I get the weight on, then we'll see if we want to use the extended shackles to lower it. And I'm putting grease on all the bolts. I already greased up the holes. Just greasing up the bolts, make sure everything's good and greasy, and get this thing bolted back together. Not exactly sure which way it needs to go. Now, after a few hammer blows, I got it started a little bit. Try to use the threads to pull it in. Nice if I can get a good swing on this ratchet. Alright, little plot twist. Original 1500 leaf spring, 2.5 inches. 2500 spring, almost 3 inches. That pocket right there, I don't know if we can see that, won't accommodate the much bigger spring end. So what I'm going to do is remount the holes. They only got to move by 1/8 of an inch. So I think it'll be alright. Alright, this is what I came up with. I don't know if you can see it here, but there's a ridge. That's probably more than 1/8. So I'm going to polish the end of this spring all up and then grease it, because it's going to be so tight in that pocket. You can see that. That's the pocket where the head of the spring sits. And it just fits. And I reamed that hole out a little bit. And hopefully that'll be enough to get the 2500 springs on here. Whew. That's the 4th time we put them bad boys in there. All right, front's bolted in. Finally, I got that whole socket greased up. So hopefully there'll be some smooth operation. And what I did, I dropped the spring in the bucket. The bolts still didn't quite line up, so I just ran this drill in and out to remount the hole. And that worked. Now that is super tight. I don't know if that's gonna be bad or good. All right, just gotta get this rear shackle in. And then we can get on with installing all these bits and bobs. Easy peasy. Of course, I greased everything up. So hopefully, it'll add a little bit of smoothness to the ride. All right. Go. Make sure the bolts are out. I tried to put the wrong spring in, bolt facing that way. Wasn't happening. All right. Get the jack back under the rear axle. Up off the jack stand. Show this. There's this plate. See the offset? Because the spring came up so much. The offset is to the front. That sits down on there. I bolted this piece that comes with the kit. You can see I bolted it with the same bolts I used here, right to the top of the old spring perch, and that keeps the U-bolts in place. Let's see. I'll let this jack out. Now the axle weight is down. Just gonna show this some love. Whoa, she's down there now. That's where it's supposed to be. We can just slide in our U-bolts. I don't like how close it gets to that brake line. I'm gonna have to give that a little love. We're using these factory U-bolts. The ones that come with the kit actually wrap around the axle here, and you wouldn't need this top plate. But I think the originals are way stronger. Than the aftermarket stuff. What I don't know about is how strong that plate is. So all the weight of the axle is pushing up this way, pulling down on these bolts. And that sandwiches together pretty good. Alright. That's all of the assembly. You can see all that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jack the other side of the axle up. Try to get all this into a line, and then I'll tighten this down once I think everything's nice and straight. trying to do is get the axle sort of level. Of course, this spring's not compressing as much as I would like. All right, I think that'll do it. Sort of got everything in line. Let's tighten it up. She's low. I've already rolled these fenders, and I can still fit my fingers in there. Once I get the 2-inch drop spindles on the front, I think it's going to look okay. What are those?
My feet.
What, do you got invisible shoes on?
Yeah.
Where do you think you're going with those shoes?
I have shoes on.
Oh, we're recording this whole time. Look, come here, come here. What are those? What are those?
My feet.
I'm leaving that.